When the spawn meets world.
What up, bro?
When the spawn
Welcome.
TC, we're doing things a little bit different today.
We're doing things a little bit different. We're having what we're calling midterms. We realize we're midway through the season, so we wanted to do a quick recap on just what's been happening so far. And also, there's just been a lot of interesting happenings in the world of Boy Meets World. I don't know. There's just a lot to talk about that we couldn't really squeeze into a very specific episode. So.
Exactly. That was my whole thing. It's like, Boy Meets World had a lot of announcements the last few weeks. For all you Boy Meets World fans, I'm sure you saw a lot of it, so we wanted to discuss some of that. And then also, just being Black in America also has had a few updates. So
100%.
This has been like a very interesting summer, like especially doing this podcast. It's like, oh, are you a Boy Meets World fan? Do we have news for you? Oh, are you Black in America? Have we got some news for you?
Or are you just a person just trying to make it through? Because we have some news for that too.
Yeah, we got news for everybody. Everybody get some news.
But yeah, we just figured we just have kind of an informal chat about some things.
Where do you want to start? Because there's so
yeah, let's just do a quick recap of the season so far. I just want to get your thoughts on what you think of season 2 thus far.
I think that season 2 is really, it's different from season 1. We're starting to do more of what I am familiar with and what I thought about Boy Meets World, but also I've been talking to people about the podcast, and we were talking about how so many people are like, oh yeah, I learned so much from Boy Meets World. It's such a good show. So many great life lessons. I was like, yeah, not now. Like right now, we're dealing with a lot of fuckboy shit. Like we're dealing with a lot of bad lessons.
It seems as though like they're getting the formula down for how to tell stories with these lessons, and it seems like the lessons that are being taught, however, are kind of a second thought.
Yes, I agree.
Because I will say that like the way that they've established the show in this season versus the first season, like I feel that there's a bigger world now to Corey. Like it's outside of just that 6th grade classroom that we were in all the time in the first season.
Yep.
He's interacting with new people, he's having new experiences, but he's learning things from these people that sometimes aren't great. And I don't know, I definitely feel like the influence of high school and trying to be like cool to other kids is making him act kind of douchey at points, him and Sean both. Great episode. There have been some fantastic episodes this season, but overall, like you said, I think I'm also surprised at how just how the lessons don't age well.
Exactly. Like some of the last episode we had, that was like, wow.
That episode was batshit. Like
and I really don't know where we're going forward, but I was just like, wow.
We're comparing women to meat, and no one's like saying like, "Hey, that's a bad thing for you to do, Corey and Sean." Corey and Sean never have "Oh, maybe we shouldn't do this." It's just "Hey,
yeah,
you're my bro."
Yeah,
you're
at the end of it, remember it was like, "Yeah, oh, at least we respect each other."
Yeah, you can respect another man, just not a woman. That's crazy. So yeah, that has been an interesting thing. Although I have to say that I am loving some of our new characters that we've had this season. Mr. Turner, the Harley's crew, everything like that. I'm loving all of our new characters.
Harley, of course, and the kind of crew. They're some of our favorites. You know how I feel about Mr. Turner. And then looking ahead, I was also like, oh yeah, we get some more fun characters. So yeah, I'm really interested to see where the season goes in terms of the world that we're building.
Now, at the end of season 1, we had a final recap in which we voted our favorite character from season 1 to be Minkus. Yes. How much are you missing Minkus midway through season 2?
You know, I miss Topanga more, if we're being honest.
Yeah. It's like she's a regular, but she's not a regular.
Exactly. I was like, when have we actually seen Topanga? We've gotten like maybe 2 or 3 episodes with Topanga, and like I think only 2 of them used her well.
You know what's funny? You brought this up in a previous podcast about your theory about the opening credits and how
Yep.
that reflects who's important to Corey's life. I think from a show's perspective, I think that Boy Meets World just genuinely didn't know which characters, like where they wanted to focus the show. If they wanted to focus it more on school, if they wanted to focus more on home, there was a lot of new characters being introduced. The reason why I don't think we get that formal opening scene is because I don't think they knew who they wanted to be the central cast of the show yet. And I think that's the reason why, like, this season's kind of like the intro is kind of a blip, but next season you'll notice like it's so much more on the school, and like from the remaining how the show plays out, it's all focused on school versus the first season, which was very much home based. So
Exactly.
I think that's where the transition is also kind of seeing, is that the creators are just like, we don't know, maybe the characters that the kids at school will be a bigger deal than the parents at home. We don't know yet. And I
No,
think we definitely see that with Topanga. Like, her influence in season 3 and 4 is so much bigger than seasons 1 and 2. So
again, looking ahead, I did just look and I was like, oh, season three. I think season three is where it's like, oh, like, yes, this is the Boy Meets World that I know. Um,
dude, seasons 3, 4, and 5 are the bread and butter of the show. Specifically, season 4. You know how I feel about season 4, but to me, like,
exactly.
this is the best the show gets, is seasons 3, 4, and 5. And so I know that, like, even though there's some bullshit that we're seeing in these, first 2 seasons, there were some episodes we didn't really care for, some episodes we outright hated, some episodes we didn't agree with. I know there's, a light around the corner with season 3 coming up. And even honestly, the end of season 2 has some great episodes.
No, I believe that. And again, I'm not saying that like what we've gotten so far hasn't been fun. I think it's been fun. And if anything, it's one of those things where I'm learning with time that like every one of your phase has a problematic moment. It's just like
100%.
there are problematic moments in anything that you used to love, especially if it was from the 90s. And you just got to measure it on like how problematic they were being. It's like it's not if they were bad. It was like, oh no, you were definitely saying some bad stuff, but like how bad was it relative to everything else we got going on? And I think for the most part, this show is it's teaching lessons that you're like, I kind of wish we weren't teaching, but it's not the worst thing. Or in some cases, like it's not any different than what we're telling
Anything
kids
else on
now. Yeah,
television?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you have a character you wish you could control alt delete from the season so far?
Control Alt Delete from the season. I'm just gonna say I'm not really. I don't have any harm or malice towards this person, but I feel that you're right that Morgan could be gone now, and it
I
really
was
would make
gonna say,
no
like,
difference.
no, like they could have just totally Judy Winslowed her, and it would have been fine. Like, I feel like it's more of like we don't know what to do with her, and because Eric and Corey are so close in age, like we
Yeah,
see Eric at school with Corey interacting with his friends.
yeah,
I mean, even in season 1, Morgan was just kind of like this like girl that they were babysitting all the time, and like Eric would like bring his girlfriends home. They would meet her, but they're not going as home as much anymore. They're going to
exactly.
Chubby's. They're going to other places. So I mean, like the drive-in. There are all these new locations that we never went to in the first season. So I think she's just becoming less and less relevant. And I mean, even when they bring her back, I don't really remember her being super
I think it's
important.
weird because I'm trying to think right now if there's any other TV show that kind of has a formula like this or like has done a similar thing. And what I'm saying is, you're right. Boy Meets World, like it in the first season, it's very family heavy, and then it's very family heavy and Mr. Feeney. Like those are the two people who we're kind of talking about, and we've talked about this before. And then he gets older, and now we're in middle school slash high school, and things are kind of all over the place. It's like because I was like,
You know
should we
what?
get rid of Alan? And I was like if well, no, I was
Kill Alan off.
like, well, not just kill Alan off because of course we get great scenes with the family later. But I was saying that like I'm thinking about it now. When a show, I want more. I want to learn more about Sean and Sean's family life and what he's going through. We got a little bit even about like the kind of crew and like what's going on with them. I feel like if this was a modern day show, it would have been like a Degrassi type situation where like we're learning
I would
different
say that we're
storyline.
we're gonna get there. We will get there. It's just we haven't got there yet, but we will get there. Especially with Sean and some of the other characters, we definitely will dive into their families more and more. And I think Sean has a huge um, emotional arc in season 3 with because that's when his parents disappear. So that's when we really start getting into what all that is doing to him and his character. But to your previous point of just like I don't know of another show that's done this. I will say that like the first season of Saved by the Bell is from the teacher's perspective.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is like in the first season of Saved by the Bell, that is true, but they immediately switch and they know their formula and they run
That's
with it.
right. Season 2 starts and they keep that they had that formula locked and loaded. They
That's
didn't
what I'm
have any
saying.
moment to like to transition and it seems like Boy Meets World is having this year of transition. But yeah, they just seem to have known it right away. And even you know, when you look at like Family Matters, which was really supposed to be about the Winslows, and then kind of shifted gears towards just being about Urkel, and even Fresh Prince initially when it started was supposed to be more about the family, and ended up just being more and more just about Will and Carlton for the most part. So
Especially towards the later years.
yeah, and I think that is there is that's just that transition of just like, well, let's put this on the air, and how are the audience reacting to it, and what changes do we need to make, and what characters are working, what characters aren't working.
But the thing that I'm saying is even when you have a show that changes its focus and it changes its stars, it still for the most part has a dynamic or a rhythm to it or a way of storytelling that you said that we will get with Boy Meets World in season 3. What I'm talking about is I feel that we are watching them work this out on television.
Sure.
That you don't get to see more so in different series.
Well, you know what? I actually think that's kind of a beautiful thing about television pre-internet. And
Yes,
that's that networks gave a show time to find its voice and find its audience. So we were able, like, if I were working at ABC now and the show is on, I feel like it would get canceled like season 2, and we would have missed out on the greatness that was to come after that. And I feel
like
like
Girl Meets
networks
World did.
yeah, networks especially are real quick to cancel a show that doesn't immediately connect. But some of my greatest shows, like when you think about Parks and Rec, that first season was not good, and so it takes a while, I think, for some shows to really build their voice and their audience and their relationship with their audience. And I feel like the '90s was far more forgiving of that kind of thing than we see nowadays.
Actually, not only what I really love is I just thought about a show that does it. Remember how I was like, I can't think of a show like that, like finds like takes this time to find its footing this way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Seinfeld. Seinfeld does just
Oh,
that.
100%. The first like few seasons of like I would say the first
Exactly.
two, yeah.
Yeah, the first few seasons of Seinfeld, like I think the first episodes or something, like Elaine's not even in it. And then they kind of expand the world and they expand what they're doing. And
I started
so
watching Seinfeld on Hulu, and I started like mid-season 3.
yeah, that's like the best way to do that. It really is, honestly. You have to start. There's like a specific episode that you need to start with, and then that's it.
Yeah, I think it was like the Chinese restaurant episode. Might be at the end of
Yes.
season
Ah,
2 or the
that's such a
beginning of season 3.
good one too.
But I think that was one of the first ones, and then like the one where they lose their car was an episode in the parking garage. I
Yes.
remember
Yeah, you're right.
some of
Like,
those early classic episodes, and to me, the bet is my favorite Seinfeld
yeah,
episode,
well, so the bet is the
or the
one that
contest. I'm sorry, the
yeah,
contest is what
the
it's called.
contest is the one that put it on the map, honestly. The contest is the one where everyone the next day was talking about, oh my god, did you see this show?
Yeah.
And it's still really good and it's still relevant to like any friend group now. You know, it's just like I think it's
Well,
really
I watched their not that there's anything wrong with that episode recently, just to see how well that aged. And it
how does
actually
that
didn't
elbow?
age too bad.
Yeah, no, honestly, I love that episode. I mean, I
Yeah.
still again to this day with anything, it doesn't just have to be about sexuality. If I'm talking about someone's like well, this is sexuality, but like if we're talking
It's
about like
part of
someone's
the vernacular. There's not
kink
that
or
there's
anything,
anything
I'm like,
wrong.
not that there's anything wrong with that, you know?
Yeah.
But oh, all I was gonna say is that the Chinese episode I think is where fans of the show realized its pivot, and it first started having the discussion that it was about nothing.
Yeah, nothing and everything. Like, it was at that episode where it's like, damn, we've all been at that point where we've been waiting way too long for reservations, and that relatableness of it, I think, is what started to really come through. Guys, welcome to the new Seinfeld podcast that we're doing.
Well, but I mean, like a really quick side note: did you ever hear? Did I ever discuss with you what Seinfeld's really about?
No.
All right, so I was speaking to someone earlier, and they were talking to me about how Seinfeld's not a show about nothing; it's a show about manners, American manners, and how we deal in social situations. So it
Well,
called
it's
it.
definitely social commentary, but yeah, I never really thought about
Yeah,
like
no,
just
it's a show
American
about
manners.
American manners and how we like that whole thing of like in America you're supposed to wait quietly for your reservation. You're supposed to tip. You know, there's like all these things that you're
Yeah.
supposed to do as an American to be part of our social structure, and all of these people don't agree with it. And they are always challenging those expectations of what it means to be polite in America. And that's what
Yeah.
the show's really about.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so back to Boy Meets World.
They had a reunion recently.
They did. Oh my god, that like I'm sure anyone who's a fan of the show saw the photo by now. It's fantastic. That was such a good moment.
One of the things that I'm immediately angry about is that I had no idea this reunion was happening. We follow
Likewise.
their social media. They never mentioned it that they were doing it. So I don't know how people heard about it to sign up for it, but damn, was I jealous. I was
Yeah,
like
I was really,
green
really
with envy.
upset. I had no idea that this was going to go on.
Like, if we had known if this was like a Comic Con type of thing, we would have went to Chicago for
I
it.
probably
We could have
definitely
figured out
would
a
have.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. Just to see like people taking a picture, and that's the thing. It wasn't like, fucking Matt Lawrence and Second Morgan and
No, it
Griff,
was like
like
the OGs.
core cast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, Corey, Topanga, and Eric. People have pictures with them. Those are my family. I grew up with those kids, and I don't have a picture with them. You
Yeah.
understand? Like, I'm angry about it.
It's really, really crazy to see because they all just look. It's weird to like see people who are not family but that you grew up with as a family, and like they're all bonding and together. It's like, I don't know, it's adorable. I love it.
It's like when a group from high school gets together, but you're not invited.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just
You're
like,
not in their
guys,
group.
like, I understand we're not really that close, but like, I really want to go.
I'm really happy that you're there. You know, it's like you're happy that their friendship has maintained.
And it just looks like they were having a lot of fun with it. Like, it seemed like they
Exactly.
were just enjoying it. And I think even Danielle Fisher, Danielle Fishel, she posted on her Instagram that, like, hey, we should probably do this more.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get more of this this kind of meet and greet situation, because I would again love to meet them and just to thank them for just like what they've done. And I'm sure they get that so often, but I don't know what else to say but to just thank you for just like teaching me through you.
So
Which I know they're actors on the set. They have no,
Well, my whole thing is I'm a 6'4" black man, so like when I like approach these small little people,
yes.
I'm sure it's way more intimidating. But nonetheless, you're just like, yeah, but I'm so happy. And then also, I don't understand how it has happened, and it probably hasn't happened yet because I'm not ready for it to happen. I don't know how to compose myself. But Ben Savage lives in my area. Like every time he checks into something on Instagram, I'm like, you're literally around the corner. We live in the same sphere, and I just don't know what I would do if I ran into you. I just don't. So
And here's the thing though, is like I was actually surprised when I was looking at the hashtags of all the people that met them,
yeah.
that there were actually some people of color there, and I didn't think that would be the case. But I think it's actually their appeal is far more diverse than we might give them credit for, based on just who they cast in the show.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now that everyone I speak to, not everyone I speak to, but like a lot of people I speak to who more and more I've been telling about the podcast, the people of color, they're all like, I loved Boy Meets World. And I honestly don't know what this show did differently that made children of color gravitate towards it before Angela got on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it was just like this. It's like, hey, we're gonna tell stories from kids' perspectives, but like, when you think about it, like this show is all about like what Corey comes up with. Like the teachers aren't steering him in any one direction. His parents are just like, do what you think is best. Like he's the agency and the decisions are made solely by the children. And I don't know that there's another show that gave kids that much power and decision making to make their choices and to learn from their choices. And I think that's something that honesty and that taking kids' problems seriously was something that we related to because this was before we had Dawson's Creek. This was before we had like eighth grade. This is before we had like those like mature dissections of youth. I
Yeah.
think all we had up to this point was like John Hughes and Wonder Years. So I think it was just nice just to have something that felt genuine to our growing up experience that I think it kind of transcended race. And the scene I mean obviously we're two black people doing this podcast, so we can agree with that. And I think it's more common than we might realize.
Yeah, okay. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer, and maybe we can ask
Guys,
some
if you
people.
know, write us in.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who also checked in about the Boy Meets World reunion, BuzzFeed had this article about the inconsistencies from Boy Meets World that the cast themselves discussed, and it brings up one of our favorite topics, which I really, really enjoyed. First of all, like while they were doing this Q&A at the Wizard World Chicago Comic Con, which is where the reunion happened, they
Why the
brought.
hell did it happen in Chicago?
I
Is
don't
Ben from
know.
Chicago? I think Ben's from Chicago.
It's been from Chicago. I thought honestly, it looks like I don't know. By the way, if you do know, please let us know because we did no research on this other than to complain that we weren't there.
But yeah, I think the Savages in general are from Chicago, like
Oh,
Ben
that's
and
a good
Fred.
point. But also, it looks like Will Friedle had like his own booth or something there.
Well, Will Friedle's done so many geeky, Comic-Con-y kind of stuff that
That's what I'm
he's
saying.
able to
Like,
do
I
that.
don't know
Yeah.
if it was like Ben was like, "Oh, I'm going home and I'll be there, and let's see if we can make this happen," or if like Will Friedle was going to be there anyway. And
Well, Will Friedle was, I think, there with Chrissy Carlson Romano, right? For Kim Possible.
oh yeah, man, there's just so much good stuff going on.
Oh man. All right. Anyways, yeah, they did the inconsistencies.
Yeah, but they did the inconsistencies, and it started off with someone reminding the cast about the discussion that Will and Danielle had about whether or not the Matthews yard that we always see is on the side of their house or is it the back of their house. And like it's like no one can really agree on the architecture or the floor plan of the Matthews house. And I thought it was a really good conversation because I never thought of it until like just now. But we've kind of even brought it up. Like I remember when grandma came and she like we heard her honk from like and then she entered through the back door. You were like, wait, where'd you park? What's going on here?
Okay, so I've actually been thinking about this question in a lot of detail, and I have come to the conclusion that we are seeing the side of their house. That Feeney lives
Oh.
next to them. That the driveway that they're looking at is at the front of the house, and they're looking towards the road, and that's where the driveway is. And then behind them is the garage with the basketball court that we see later on.
All right. I mean that pretty
That's my
much
that's my opinion.
that's Will Friedle's opinion as well. But it's crazy because it's always called the backyard or it's always seen as the backyard. Especially like Feeney living like it's just weird, you know, like that the who spends that much time on the side of their house, even Feeney, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I you know what? It is one of those things that I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer because even the cast can't agree with it. Especially like they brought up a few other things as well.
well they brought up the fact that like you know you have the two Morgans. Danielle Fishel brings up the fact that she had four fathers and three moms, and that their names
Different
kept
names.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they noticed it too, that it wasn't just us. And I wonder if it's one of those things that they noticed in the moment, or if it's one of those things that, like, in retrospect they realize. Because I would imagine that, like your character, like Topanga, like Danielle played Topanga for years, so she
Yeah.
knew what her parents' names were. So that day, on when they were doing the read through, did she not chime in and be like, "Hey, that's not what my parents' names are"?
I feel like it's all in retrospect because I feel that you and I talk very sorry, we talk a lot about how um we've grown nostalgic way more than we were like originally in the 90s. And I feel that what happened was as we've grown, like as fandom has grown, like we've paid way more attention to details than like in the 90s when like you would just get a script and you would read it. You know what I mean?
I guess so. I just feel like as an actor, like I would know my character's history, I would know my character's family, and like just one day at a table read, just to be like, hey, that wasn't the name they had last time, or didn't I have a sister? Like just one of those things to just kind of throw out to the writing room, just to be like, hey guys, did you ever have any thoughts on what happened to the sister? Or
I mean,
I,
because like no, they bring up the fact that Nebula was there and then disappeared.
and that
Uh,
Sean had siblings that
Yeah,
disappeared.
they literally there's in the quote it's like I had this is Ryder Strong who plays Sean. It was like I had sisters that disappeared, I had one brother who disappeared, and then Matt Lawrence was like another brother. So like when Matthew Lawrence shows up, they just kept casting brothers and sisters like willy-nilly.
Yeah, and I think the goal eventually with that was to kind of flesh those characters out to have families of their own. I just don't think it ever really caught on. Um, but I mean, obviously Matt Lawrence stuck around for a while, so I think maybe it was just a timing thing. Like we had to meet Sean and understand Sean first before we could kind of move on to siblings.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in reality, I just think that in the 90s, they weren't as meticulous because this was all pre Arrested Development, where like continuity became a huge thing. Like you couldn't say something in one episode that didn't add up later because we are now a generation that is used to jokes that build upon
Yeah.
themselves and we pay attention. So like if you say they live if like we're the generation where it's like well, we found out where the Simpsons lived because they said that they were looking out the window during this time of day and they saw the moon, and you can only see the moon at 7 p.m. from this angle. So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's who we are.
I
And
think a lot of it has to do with binge culture as well. Like when
yeah,
you're binging a show, you're picking up on things, you're staying with stories. In the 90s, there was no there wasn't even this thought of, hey, we're going to put this on DVD one day. It was, I'm going to air this and then it's going to run in syndication out of order. So I
exactly.
think that was kind of the thought of just like, well, whatever works for this episode because it's going
Exactly.
to run in
They would be like,
syndication
who
anyway.
cares? And now you're right with binge culture. If you say that Topanga likes oranges, and then in 4 episodes, Topanga goes, I can't, I'm allergic to oranges. We're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We will pause.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
I
go on
mean,
a
we've
20
done
minute
several
rant.
times on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, wish I could have been there. Wish I could have asked them. If you were there, what question would you ask them? Like if you
Uh,
were in that public forum and you could ask them one
Honestly,
question.
this is why I'm like I don't know what I would do if I ran into Ben Savage because I don't know if I would have asked any like I'm like right now you're asking me what I would do. I just need time because like I was like it's like especially like seeing Ben Savage and Ryder Strong or Daniel Fishel or Will Friedle at any point in time separately. I would be overwhelmed. So to have all four of them be in the exact same spot and then being like, "Oh, you can ask them a question." I would gush for like the longest time and then like apologize.
I think I would ask them what their favorite episodes were, like
Oh,
from
that's a
their
good one. That's
perspective.
always a good one to be like, "Hey, what's your favorite episode?"
Because I feel like their memories, like they have memories of it the way we have memories of, like, I don't know if you did like high school theater, but like when I think back to like high school theater, yeah, I remember the show kind of, but I mostly remember like the shit that happened backstage and like things like that. So from
So
their
that's what I would have
perspective,
said. I would have talked way more about like you said what their favorite episode is, but I was like, what's some behind the scenes stories that
Sure.
like you guys really have been holding on to?
Yeah, that would be a good one too, just to figure that out. Just man, I wish I could just be a fly on the wall while the show is going on the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. I
Um,
mean, it's I think that they did honestly, and I think I would also ask them. I mean, like I don't know if they are allowed to say anything about it, but like why Girl Meets World didn't go because as we were talking about it, Girl Meets World was also finding its footing, but they were starting to do really well in terms of getting back to that Boy Meets World formula and hitting on really, really adult or relevant to children topics in a positive way.
can I give you my thoughts on this?
Yeah, go for it.
It's the audience. When you put it on Disney Channel, it's a different audience. When you have like the audience that Modern Family is marketing towards is completely different than the audience that Girl Meets World was marketing towards, but they should have been marketing towards the same family audience.
Put
And
it put
that's
it on Freeform.
put it on
Freeform is
freeform, put it
literally
somewhere where you can develop these characters, where you have an audience that's willing to be patient, an audience that's going to appreciate that development.
that's exactly what
Kids
they
just
did
want
with
to see,
Blackish.
yeah,
Blackish
kids,
is on free, not Blackish, Grownish. Grownish
yeah,
is on Freeform, and it allows them to do children centric topics that
are a little more mature.
that are a little bit more mature. And what's even crazy is I always talk about my best friend's girlfriend's daughter. I asked her the other day, I was like, hey, do you watch Boy Meets World? She's like, yeah. And I was like, did you like it? She's like, not really. She goes, I liked the spinoff way more. And she's 14. So like
Sure,
she liked it. It was relevant to her.
yeah.
And I think that they were really on to something, and I just feel like it was canceled too early. But
I mean, and I also maybe I could be wrong with this. I felt like, and again, I've only seen a few episodes of Girl Meets World, and I don't want to speculate.
yeah,
But it's a vibe that I got was that the chemistry between the cast on the new show with the kids wasn't as strong as the chemistry in the original show, and that was just a vibe I got.
I would
That
say like that was the case maybe with like the love interest, but like the friend thing, they had the friend thing down. Like there's two sets of friends that will actually really did seem to work, and their Minkus stayed with them when they went to high
high
school.
school.
And like they even kind of did something with that. But again, it made sense. And I thought like I don't know, I feel like the chemistry was there. And I even feel like they brought Danielle like the Corey and Topanga characters in properly when they needed to.
Yeah.
Um and they were doing like some kind of weird stuff with like Sean and you get kind of like what happens with
Did
Sean.
Sean get married?
Sean did get married.
That's weird.
But so I mean, like, we're kind of getting all over the place, and it is what it is. But like, yeah, so Sean gets married in the spinoff Girl Meets World, but that is one where I'm like, okay, they did seem to like shoehorn that in. Like they like knew they only had a limited amount of time. They're like, we want to make sure we tell this story and conclude it. And it wasn't that it didn't make sense. It's just that it was definitely rushed for time. So.
Yeah. Hmm. Oh well.
But we did get to see Angela again, and that was awesome.
Yeah, see, I always thought, I guess I always kind of wanted them to end up together. And
Uh,
I
Dawn and
felt,
Angela.
yeah, and I felt like if they were going to do that, if they were going to bring them back, like, that's what I would want to see. Like, I don't really care about
Actually,
Sean meeting
I
this new person.
I mean I know that you're. I'm not saying that you're wrong in the sense that like Sean and this new person does it, but the way that they do Angela's return is, by the way, spoilers ahead because I'm just going to say it. But the way that they do Angela's return is really good. It's very realistic. She comes back in their life and she's married now, and she's just like, no, Sean was really important to me. And she kind of gives insight into who Sean was and why he was important to her, but also why they didn't work out. And it helps Sean grow. It's one of those things where an ex comes back into your life and you're not necessarily going to get back with them because you're not who you were, but they do
Sure.
have insight into who you were then and how it may affect you now. And I thought that was a mature way to deal with it in this kid's show.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Too bad.
Yeah, c'est la vie.
Anyways, you had some non-Boy Meets World things you wanted to
Oh my
discuss with me.
god, just so much has gone on. Okay, so give me 1 second. There's so many things that we need to do. First of all, Aretha Franklin's funeral, our homegoing, as they called it. Did you hear about that?
Okay, so I I have to say I've been kind of detached. I've been picking up on things here and there. I saw um the performance that Jennifer Hudson gave of, was it Amazing Grace?
Yeah.
But I didn't hear it. Like, I know there was like some drama that I didn't really hear
There was a
about.
bunch of drama. All right, so first of all, there was the fact that the guy who gave the eulogy literally went on like for 45 minutes, made it about everything else besides Aretha Franklin.
He make it about.
He basically turned into like black people don't really care for themselves, and that's why we're not doing better. Men need to be in the homes. A single woman can't raise um children, like she can't
Oh
raise men.
wow, really,
Yeah, exactly.
really taking advantage of this platform.
Exactly. And everyone's like, Aretha Franklin was a single mother. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, why would you
Wowzers.
do this at someone's funeral who's literally the exact opposite of what you're talking about? So there was that, and then there was the fact that a different preacher groped Ariana Grande. Um,
I'm sorry, that's not funny at all.
it's not
But
funny.
like,
Absolutely
it's not
terrible.
funny at all. But the fact that like a preacher would do that at an Aretha Franklin funeral, Jesus, like,
Well, it's being televised.
is there any kind of like self-awareness at all with these men? Like, that's what makes me chuckle, is just the severe lack of self-awareness. Like, are you kidding me, bruh?
Yeah, men are men and men, and it's terrible. And I'm really, what I like more than anything, or what's interesting, is they show that clip very often, and you can see her look at him like, "What the fuck are you doing right now?" But she's also like, "I'm not gonna make a scene because this is a funeral and this isn't about me right now." But it's really funny because at the exact same time that he's literally groping her, he's also insulting her. Like he says, like, "Oh, my daughter was like, Ariana Grande is coming," and I was like, "What's that? Like, order at Starbucks or something?" And it's like he's insulting her and groping her, and she's just like has this look of confusion on her face, but also I need to be dignified, and it's really uncomfortable to watch, but it's also like what we were talking about earlier. It's amazing in the sense of like women having to be proper while men are blatantly being inappropriate.
Because it would be rude. Like,
Yeah,
at that point, like, it's on them to be like, do I want to be as rude as this person to make this into a
exactly.
thing?
How can you
Versus,
imagine how crazy that is? I mean, like,
that's
I do know
wild.
that there's plenty of times, like, as black men, where we have to do the same thing, where it's like, okay, you were clearly just inappropriate and or racist right now, and I have to bite the bullet because me responding would be inappropriate, and I would be the target or the victim going forward. But
If I were at a funeral and someone that came up to me and just full on grabbed my dick and and like insulted me at the same time, I I you know what? I don't know what I would do. You know what? Now that I put myself in that scenario, now that I've painted that picture, I truly don't know what I would
honestly,
do.
I can tell you would do exactly what Terry Crews did, which is that, like, again, as a black person and as a black man, and you're right, this was like a great segue. I just want to talk about Terry Crews and his whole thing real quick because you know about that whole story, right? You know what happened?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, what people don't understand, as someone who is this tall, black, and gay, I've actually had the exact same thing happen to me where, like, someone will touch me who I'm like, wait a minute. Like, your mind is just confused about what's going on. I think people really underestimate shock
Yeah.
because what people assume that they would do is like, you saw it coming, you understand what it was inappropriate. And, it's just like, oh, you have the freedom and the agency. But what people forget is sometimes these things will happen in a situation where your mind just can't compute that someone would be so bold as to do so. And so
Yeah.
it takes your mind a few seconds to literally put everything in line. You're
And
like,
then at that point you have like decision making comes in.
exactly. Well, not only that, but like at that point in time, sometimes it just takes a moment. You're like, oh wait, so did someone just grab me inappropriately? Did that really happen? Did it happen in public where other people can see it? Did it happen in public to me? Did it
Yeah.
happen in public to me where other people can see it, where I can't really do anything? And then, all of the social things kind of flood in. And by that time, a few seconds have gone by, and your reaction, no matter how it would just be in delay. Like, it would look weird because it's so much time has passed since the actual incident has happened. So you
Yeah.
like literally may have to chase this person down to react. You know what I mean?
Just the way
And so,
people
like,
treat
as
people.
someone who's seen that happen, I just think about the fact that this woman got insulted and groped on national television in front of everyone, and again, like her mind just had to be like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Like, you're just literally trying to rationalize what's going on.
Yeah. And it's almost like, the kind of person who would do that is the kind of person who would know that this would be so much of a shock that you wouldn't be able to give a
That's
reaction.
another thing. I know for a fact that a lot of people who do that, they do it because it's kind of like a what are you going to do? Are
Yeah.
you going to be the person who calls me out in a room full of people? Are you
Yeah.
going
Are
to
you
do
going to
anything?
make this inappropriate? Are
Yeah,
you going to be the one who makes this weird and turns it into a thing? I'm
because
not even, I'm not going to do this in a situation where you would be able to react even positively to it. I'm going to do it in a
exactly.
situation where you can't react at all to it.
Exactly.
Ugh.
They do it in a way that it's like in order for you, your response, no matter how, like your response, anything other than to let it slide, would make you look like the weird one because they did it in a way that was just such a sleight of hand. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like no one else saw it happen. And because, as we've talked about numerous times, in America, it has to be so blatant and direct for Americans to be like, oh yeah, he definitely had it coming.
Sure. Sure.
But if they didn't see it with like footage and an announcement, they're just like, "Are you blowing this out of proportion?"
Um, and she's not having a great week.
Yeah, that now we can talk about Mac Miller, but keep going.
Yeah, so Mac Miller overdosed, and apparently there's a group online that's saying that the reason why is because of Ariana Grande,
Yeah,
because she didn't nurse him and take care of his mental health. She went and got engaged to Pete Davidson. Like, I just, this notion that she should have stuck with him and took care of him in order for him to not make this choice.
exactly. And I want to make it very clear, fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck
Yeah,
any expectations that you are required to stay with someone who, by the way, has proven themselves to be damaging.
yeah,
And you are only responsible for yourself. You are only responsible for yourself, and especially when it comes to mental health. And I'm sure she did everything that she could, and even if she didn't, that's
that's
not
not
her
her.
responsibility.
Yeah, not at all.
He has an entire network. He has an entire group of friends, family, industry individuals, who has known him longer, has way more access to him. That is not on her. She is not his savior, and she has the right to do everything, even if she fucked Pete Davidson in front of him. That would be messed up, but she has no requirements to make sure that he didn't kill himself afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And it happened so recently. Obviously, there's like details that we don't know yet. Not that it like, I can't imagine that any details would come to light that would really kind of change the picture that's being painted now. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
sad.
a real. I mean,
I
like,
have to be honest. I've never been a huge Mac Miller fan, but I can appreciate someone who kind of found fame virally and was able to kind of promote themselves that way and just a self-made. I can respect that.
yeah, no, I actually, I got to see him at Coachella 2 years ago, and I liked seeing him, and I thought it was a great show. I kind of feel bad, like I do with anyone who, especially when they're a celebrity who overdoses and dies. You know, it's like it's always a tragedy in my mind when life is lost, especially
Yeah.
that young. But also, I'm at an age right now where I do understand that our system does not treat mental illness the way that it should. So he is a victim just as much as anyone else. And it's really sad, and we need to do better. But then also that you can't you can't save everyone. You just can't,
Yeah.
like the weight of having and trying to save everyone, or like trying to do everything and make everyone happy, is just, it's not on one person. Do what you can in your space and hope that other people are doing what they can in their space.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like a weird transition, but nonetheless, um, just on this whole trying to make everyone happy, and this whole Nike protest thing and how our system
You
is.
didn't burn your Nikes, bro?
Oh no, no, I did not burn my Nike.
You did not take the shoes you paid $100 for and set them on fire?
That was
to prove
the
a point?
dumbest thing you could do. Like absolutely ridiculous.
Yo, man, Nikes are great.
Well, I'm not gonna
Like,
lie. I'm not
just
gonna
as
lie.
a shoe, Nikes are great. Like, why are you fronting?
I'm an Adidas person. Like, I'm looking right now at all my shoes. I have more Adidas than I do Nike. Anything.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just like they feel better to me.
I mean,
I'm
I
not,
have the classic shell tops. Obviously, I go old school.
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've looked at Nike's come out with a lot of really great shoes. But like to me, the idea of protesting Nike, like everyone brings out, there's just so many things going on where it's just like, all right, so you're going to protest Nike now, but when we all found out about their sweatshop labor, that was cool. And then
Or when like black guys were getting shot by cops, that
or
was
yeah,
apparently not
or
worth.
if you want to go back to the original OG problem, where
Like,
black
yeah.
guys were getting shot by cops, we're like, oh, that's fine. And, you know, that happens. It's like
We're
an
not going to
everyday-
protest that, but we'll like burning shoes is such a more violent expression than taking a knee.
Yes. Also,
So like you're protesting a protest in a worse way than the original protest.
Also, I do have to say that, or two things that happened. One, I don't know if you watch Seth Meyers, but he has a correspondent named Amber Riley.
Oh yeah.
I really loved it. What she did, she kind of like flipped the script on them. She was like, white people who are burning your Nikes, now's not the time. You're doing it wrong. You're protesting incorrectly. If you want to do that, the internet's not a place to be, you know, and just kind of use the whole argument that they used against Colin Kaepernick. And then also someone else pointed out, and I love this, they were like, Colin Kaepernick has not taken a knee publicly at the NFL in the last 2 years. He's only been fighting social injustice.
It seemed to me like there was just a lot of white boy fuckery happening.
White boy fuckery, I like it. No, I mean, like, honestly, that's pretty much what we're dealing with here. It's the amount of racism in everything that we're dealing with is just so much. I mean, like, you have the don't monkey this up situation.
Don't monkey this up, bruh.
That was like, seriously, here's the thing, I kid you not, I don't know if you saw the whole clip, but I was telling someone, when I watched the whole clip, because I like to watch things in context, when I watched the clip, the guy said he's so articulate, and from that moment on, I was like, oh, I know where we're going with this.
He's so well spoken.
Yeah.
He speaks so well. He's so well spoken.
The moment he said that, I was like, oh, we're getting nothing but fuckery going forward. And then he was
How
like,
else would he speak?
yeah, exactly. And then he said, don't monkey this up. And I was like, I got both angry and sad, and like it was just so many emotions.
Yo,
Because
whatever,
it's
man.
just like, oh,
I'm
you guys
in Florida
really
right now.
don't care.
I know that's real life. I'm not even surprised by it anymore.
Yeah, you are in Florida right now.
Like I'm not surprised by it at all.
But which, by the way, okay, so kind of a detour, but pretty much exactly what we're talking about, especially with Florida. I told you recently that I ran into a old classmate, and then also this guy who like went to school in Miami, and we were talking, and I said something incorrectly, and he called me out on it, and I was like, I went to school in Florida. I don't expect to know things. And he goes, dude, I use that as an excuse all the time. Like, whenever people call me out, I was like, I have a Florida education. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah.
I did the best that I could with what I got.
Real low on the education standards. I think we pay our teachers one of the least salaries, like the smallest salaries of teachers in the country. So we're getting what we pay for, guys.
That's so terrible. God.
Also, there's like ooze in our Everglades right now. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
but
I didn't.
There's pollution in our Everglades that are literally turning like these like oceanside homes, like their lagoons outside their homes, to like a green like Ninja Turtle ooze.
I don't understand why the EPA only reduced half of their regulations over the past few years. So
I have no idea. I know we're running low on time, so before we go, with all of just like this blatant racism, I want to talk to you a little bit about this white on white crime that's happening in hip hop right now. Because it is just, I'm loving every minute of it.
All right,
it's like a boxing match where I don't care.
You're just happy to see it happen?
I'm just happy to see a fight.
Keep going. Tell me more.
All right, so obviously Eminem dropped a dope album, Kamikaze, out of nowhere, that called out G-Eazy and that called out Machine Gun Kelly, who I have to say I didn't really even ever heard of before this. And then Machine Gun Kelly had a response record, but it's so... I don't know. I'm a true hip-hop head, and I'm a true lover of rap, and I understand the complexity that Eminem puts into a lyric. Like, he really is Shakespeare, the way he's able to use double, triple, quadruple entendres and make it all rhyme and make sense and tell a story, and there's not many people who can do what he does better. Like, he is as smart with his writing as like Lin-Manuel Miranda is with Hamilton. Like, there's so much complexity behind it that rappers put into their thoughts. So for Machine Gun Kelly to just kind of say like, "Hey man, you're old," it didn't really. Yeah, because you have to understand, it's like hip hop is like it's like if you were to have two like drummers like going back and forth, and like someone was just able to do a sick beat. Like, a sick beat wouldn't compare to like a trained jazz drummer. You know, so I think that's why I'm looking forward to this response that Eminem is working on, because I know it's like going to just be everything that I love about hip hop. Like, even like, I know there's a lot of like doesn't age well parts of the Biggie and Tupac story. But their rap beefs, I mean, Hit 'Em Up, I don't know if you're familiar with the song. It's one of the greatest rap beef songs of all time. No Vaseline by Ice Cube. Like, this is what hip hop was built on. And it's interesting when you have like MGK just being like, "Hey man, don't be a bully," when Eminem's like, "No, that's not really what it's about. It's about just, calling out skill, and what is skill, and who's the dopest on the mic." Like, that's what hip hop's always been. And I don't know. I hip hop can be other things than who is the baddest of them all, but that is true to the root of it.
No, I'm with you. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, early on, like, didn't like MCs and showdowns, wasn't it like all like that's what rap battles were?
That's all they were. They were like, "Yo, my DJ's the best. My DJ's the best. Yo, I'm an MC and I'm the best. No, I'm the best."
Exactly. Like, everyone was just kind of challenging each other. I mean, like, and don't get me wrong, Biggie and Tupac clearly took it to a more violent state than it had been before. But it's like, it's always been about calling someone out and you proving your worth on lyrically. Like, that's what rap battle really is. It's just like, all right, you saying all of this other stuff, and I can call you out and I can say everything I can about you, but what really matters is how you deliver. Not even necessarily what we're talking about. It's like, how do you deliver what you're talking about? And we've had a lot of those lately.
It's kind of like there was a video that a song that Justin Bieber put out on his Christmas album a few years ago with Boys to Men.
That is not where I thought this was going at all, but continue.
But it's like when you hear Boys to Men sing and then you hear Justin Bieber sing, and you're like, "Oh, okay, so that's what good singing is, and that's what extraordinary singing is."
Yeah.
that's what hip hop is kind of doing right now, and that's what I think Eminem's trying to prove. He's not trying to say that new hip hop is all bad. He even says like, "Hey, Lil Yachty, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me." But he is saying that there is a level of skill and talent that's being, pushed aside that we need to hang on to. And yes, we can experiment with new sounds, but let's not, lose what's artistic about this art form.
You know who's above all of it? Childish Gambino.
Dude, that feels like summer. Like, he's just walking past it, man.
Yes,
he's all
that's
the drama
the whole thing
happening around him.
Everyone was talking about, they're like, notice that what he's basically saying is everything's going on, all this is happening, good and bad, but I'm not part of it. Like, I'm
on some other shit.
Yeah, I'm in the same neighborhood. I'm part of the community.
I'm part of this world, but I'm not interacting, and I'm not going along with a lot of what other people are doing. I love that video from beginning to end.
Oh, it's really, really good. And that was just like another thing that I want. Childish Gambino has been knocking it out of the park.
Dude, this dude, I just can't wait for him to create.
Yeah.
I've been such a stan of his since since Community and since his first record came out. And I saw him on his very first tour that he did, and I've just been a huge fan of his for so long that whenever I see him just escalating his art form and getting more and more recognition, I'm just rooting for him the entire way, because that's Black excellence.
What I really like is I saw a video the other day that I really enjoyed, which talked about how Childish Gambino is the perfect example of our generation's ability to be a jack of all trades.
Yes, I think I saw something similar to that too.
Like the previous generations, they were all like, you have to pick something that you're going to do, and you will stick
a job you're going to be at forever, and work at the same company forever. And
that's just not how the world works anymore. So you really can be whatever you want to be at any point in time in your life. And our generation, we're not like, oh, this person's a baker. This person's usually a baker and a social media influencer and a mom and,
we all have a dozen titles.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's so funny because so often, people want you to do just the one thing. As they'll say, there's this whole phrase of I don't know, it's jack of all trades, master of none, or something like that. I can't think of it. And they're like, that's not true anymore. You can you can become great at more than one thing.
Yo, two of the best horror movies I saw in the last few years were made by comedians. So,
that's a very good point.
So, you really can be anything nowadays.
What was the other? I know Get Out is one. What's the other one?
John Krasinski. What was it?
Oh, yeah. Don't say Speak or something like that.
Whatever it was. So
A Silent Place.
Good.
A Silent Place.
Silent, yeah.
Speaking of which, I just saw Searching.
Searching? I'm not familiar.
Searching, it's, oh my god, dude, you gotta watch it. It's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's fantastic, but it's pretty good. And it's a good thriller, and it has a good twist, and you really do go on the ride. It's with John Cho. Is that how you say his name, John Cho?
Oh, yeah.
He's the first Asian American actor to play a lead in a horror or a thriller or something like this.
Really?
And it's really good.
Yo, I'm loving it. Did you see Crazy Rich Asians? I haven't
seen it yet, but I'm going to. And I don't know if you saw my post the other day, but I had this conversation about how representation, you're just seeing more and more of it. And I'm loving that. We talked about a lot of heavy stuff earlier in this, and we even talked about Boy Meets World and how great it is. But to see all this good television that has representation in it it's just such a great moment, because you see all of these minorities bond over the fact that they're seeing themselves.
Yeah.
I saw, which you should really check out, To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And
oh yeah, I've seen the ads for it.
Dude, it's a rom-com, but it's a rom-com with an Asian American female lead. I'm not really sure what nationality the boy is, but or ethnicity, but it's a really good movie, and it's a classic rom-com. And as we've always known, nothing's really different. The story's still the same. It's just like, oh, that person happens to be a person of color, which lets you know that, like, yeah, we have the same stories, we have the same wants, needs, and all this other stuff. So yeah, it's
You know
really,
what's funny?
really good.
If you ever get some chance on Instagram to explore the Crazy Rich Asians hashtag, yo, people in Shanghai are living it up right now. Like, there is a whole like culture in China that I'm just completely unfamiliar with. That looks a lot like Vegas than it does anything I've seen in what I've interpreted of what I thought China was in my head. So I think it's just a great big world out there, and it's exposing me and a bunch of other people to different parts of societies that we just didn't realize were up and
Are
popping
you
like
saying that the Bruz are meeting the world? Is that what you're saying right now?
that. Bam, guys, we did it.
Full cycle!
Thanks for listening, guys. We're done. That's a wrap. That's a wrap for the podcast.
Okay. So, I mean, honestly, that just feels like a good place to close. Do you have
Sure, yeah.
anything else?
Yeah. No, I mean, I know we were just kind of bullshitting this week, but we just had some things we wanted to talk about and review, but we're going to be back next week. I have actually seen the episode, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
I have not seen the episode yet, so you get no reaction from me. But
That's fair.
that said, I am excited to keep going on this journey. I want to do a special shout out to everyone who has been talking to me about the podcast. A lot of people have been like, oh, I've checked it out. I really like it. I listen to you at work and all this other stuff. So thank you to the friends who've been doing that. I also want to call out the people. We've been getting a lot of interaction on our Instagram and on Twitter. So keep doing that. I really, really appreciate it. And finally, we also had a couple of shout outs that we made have been shouted out back at us, and that's just a fantastic feeling. Like,
Yeah,
I mentioned the Bechtel cast and I tagged them, and then they favorited our tweet and then retweeted it, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so fancy.
I mean, I'm super pumped for the rest of the season. I'm super pumped to continue on the journey of Boy Meets World along with you, and yeah, let's hopefully get some more mature storytelling this next half of the season.
Yeah, right. Let's hope for it. Okay, so to kind of close this out, thank you guys for listening to Bro Meets World. Remember, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Make sure you leave us a rating. We really appreciate that. Keep reaching out to us on the social media platforms at Bro Meets World, or email us at bromeetsworld@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Extra Ceej. That's XTRACEEJ. Tonathy.
You can find me at A Braver Me on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter at Anna Kendrick Retweets, at Anna Kendrick RT, where I will be retweeting Anna Kendrick's tweets for all of you.
She's got a movie coming out with Blake Lively, just saying.
Not super interested based on the trailer. But yeah.
So it's just Anna Kendrick retweets, not necessarily Anna Kendrick stan.
No. This has nothing to do with my personal feelings towards Anna Kendrick, which are not negative at all, but not overtly positive either. I just thought it would be funny about a year and a half ago, and I haven't stopped doing it.
All right,
So.
you know what? Keep doing you. And you know what else I want you to keep doing?
What's that, Ceej?
I want you to remember to dream, try,
I can do that.
and do some good, bruh.
Yo, damn Skippy, bruh.
Damn Skippy. Later, bros.
Later, bruh.